Welcome to Healthy and Active in the Couve. I am Nick Medlock, by personal assassin. I am with Northwest Personal Training, and I've got as with me always is and Corey, a physical therapist, a guest today, also a physical therapist, and we're going to kind of just have a good conversation about physical therapy. The have a usual talk about holistic approach to moving the body and the health and wellness. I would, Sarah, can you give us a little bit of kind of your background and what you specialize in?
So I'm a physical therapist, and I have been in business for 5 years, and I specialize in working with the fascia and the nervous system. And since our fascia is really everywhere and surrounds everything, and all of our systems and our organs, it works with other systems as well. So it works with the nervous system, it works with our lymph system, it works with alignment and muscle tightness. So it really works with all the systems of the body. So
Can you talk more about lymphatic draining and the softer touch versus the pressure lymphatic with like harder touch?
right, yeah. So our lymph system um, is actually closer to the surface than most of us realize. So it's closer to the surface of our skin than most of us realize. And our lymph system is really important in that it assists the blood system in carrying away toxins and the things that aren't supposed to be there, and so um it because it's so close to the surface, it likes really light touch. And if you touch your eyeball, it likes as light a touch as your eyeball likes. So if it, just as an example, if you touch your eyeball, you don't want to put any pressure. And that's the pressure the lymph system likes. It doesn't like deeper pressure. And with deeper pressure, so like when you're digging down deep, you're thinking, I just want to get this knot out of there. And when you do that, you're actually crushing the lymph system. And so then the lymph system actually has to repair itself to help with the flow and help with getting rid of the toxins and the things that it gets rid of. So, with the work that I do, it actually is super light and it actually stimulates the lymph system so that the pumping action of the lymph system can work.
Is there any benefit for the harder pressure for myofascial, or would you go for lymphatic drainage first?
They're very different purposes. So, if there's stuck tissue, stuck fascia, and places that need to release, a deeper pressure may help it. But our fascia has a memory system, and that it remembers what hurts it and it remembers what helps it. And it responds to gentle. So when it responds to gentle, it actually can keep that work inside longer because it remembers it is gentle, and it can hold on to that work. When you and there's times and occasions for a really deep work, but it remembers that deep work is painful. So it's going to be remember that the next time you go get that deep work again. And because it remembers it as painful, there's just an automatic kind of like resistance to it. And it doesn't necessarily hold on to it as long, because it was, it was kind of hurt. So, And I'm not, there's definitely a place and time for those things. But the fascia does respond to gentle work and it remembers it. And when it remembers it, it means that the more you have it, the faster it responds, and the more it responds, and the more it holds it inside.
I haven't heard that before, so that's I'm gonna look deep at that. So, yep.
Yep.
So great. Tara, I was just going to ask you about exercises you might be showing folks. Are you encouraging motion? You obviously say we're not going to be forcing into something that's going to be painful, but we want to make sure that they are active and getting back to their activities. So just curious what you might be having people start with if you're doing your work, or do you find that they need to have a relative period of rest, or what kind of things get the best benefit? I know it's a kind of a loaded things to think about, but if you can think
Right.
about certain things that you tend to use as rules to help improve your lymphatic drainage, I would love to hear it.
I don't do a lot. As I encourage movement for sure. Movement's critical for health. So, and I practice that myself. So, I mean, movement is just really, really important. And our lymph system responds to movement. So it helps the pumping motion um, for the lymph system. Um, Most often, I start with exercises that actually affect the fascia, because the looser the fascia is around the lymph system, the more it allows the lymph system to do its job. If it's getting all hung up, it's going to be hanging up on the lymph system too. So, um, I'll be honest, a lot of times I start with feet exercises, um, just working their feet and foot mobility, because that feeds into a bunch of other systems
Sure.
and a lot of other alignment and mechanisms, functional movement, and all of that. So
Great. What about breathing? What role does breathing play?
breathing is huge.
I'm all for it. I like
Yeah.
it.
Right. Well, actually, the episode that I listened to of you guys, you were talking about the core and the diaphragm being the upper cover of that core barrel or pressure system. And so, and if it's locked down, we're not getting breath to our body. We're not getting oxygen where it needs to go, and like breathing's its whole a whole like can of worms to open up, but it's super important. And the nervous system work that I do actually does a lot of work with the diaphragm, and I do a lot of release work with the diaphragm as well.
Great. Awesome. And then so when you say lymphatic system, just for listeners who have no idea what that might mean, I know you said it's superficial more than you think, but I'm thinking people who might listen to this might even not know what that even is. And so could you kind of maybe go in, just basically what we're talking about here, where these main ducts are. I know thoracic duct's one of the bigger ones. We have our
Right.
internal nodes. We have all the tissues of all the in the abdominal area as well, for
Mhm.
sure. So just I know it's a big question, but it's probably worth talking about for a
Absolutely.
couple minutes in our talk here.
Well, something that's really cool is that pretty much where we have blood vessels, we have lymph system. So everywhere our blood system goes, our lymph system goes, and they act in conjunction together. Um, so, and when I say our lymph system is more superficial than we realize, it's just closer to our skin than we realize. But the lymph system in itself has many different um, we'll put it importance levels. There's the further out vessels, there's the closer vessels, there's lymph nodes, there's the drainage part. So but it's a pump system. So it works on pumping. And that's, again, why movement's critical. And that's a lot of the work I do is stimulating that pumping motion. So we have the main drainage ducts up here that a lot of times, like if those are stuck, if they're not draining the way that they should, then the further parts are like our fingers or our toes or the further parts away aren't going to drain like they should. And so it's really important to clear where where the main drainage is. And then, then the other places have a little more access to drain. So, and yes, there's a whole series of lymph nodes, in our groin area and our abdomen and like under our arms.
Yeah.
And so it's really everywhere in our body too. So.
Great. Yeah, I think that's super important. It's just like you said, it's like a drainage system, and it gets rid of the garbage and junk, and then things get snagged. So you have your fascial system that has little things that get kind of stuck and they're out of place. And if you have that kink in your hose, so to speak, and that's kind of how I kind of will describe it to people. You have these kinks out. You need to work on those gentle ways to release that, and then show movement to help encourage that flow to happen. So I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Am I still breaking up? I just wanted to question. Is it?
I can hear you right now.
When Trent was talking earlier, started the episode, I was really fascinated for the lymphedema question, but also for the extremely obese people that get the lymphedema. Do you work with any particular method for that, or clients that deal with that?
Really all my work contributes to it. I've had clients that, have had lymphedema from cancer. And within the treatment, there was measurements done at the beginning of the treatment, measurements done at the end of the treatment. And there was significant difference in measurements, but there was also a significant difference in the feel of the tissue. Whereas the tissue was super hard when I started, there was give when I was done.
Wow.
And that person actually had been prescribed narcotics for the pain. And after that, she didn't need the narcotics.
That's amazing.
And then, I have people that just randomly, I don't know why my knee is swollen, but my knee is swollen. And same thing, measured before the treatment, measured after the treatment. And there was a quarter to half an inch difference within the treatment session. So it really, it works across the board. I do have to clarify, I'm not a lymphedema specialist. But the work I do definitely helps with lymphedema and edema.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Well, it's all kinds of so interconnected.
I think mostly there's sometimes when your work is probably so gentle that you may not feel like it's very much creating much of a shift, but obviously it is creating that change, and you're making some measurable differences. But what do you say to folks? Because there's so much of an ingrained attitude of you got to get in there, you got to work it out, that kind of thing. So, I'm sure your work stands for itself when you do the work. It helps it, but it's always good to hear. I don't know if that was what you're asking, Nick, but that's kind of a question I had myself too.
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing. People will tell me that they feel like I'm not doing anything when they're on the table.
Yep.
But when they get off the table,
yep,
they can feel a difference. And that's the testimony to what I do. So they're kind of sitting there going, I don't know if this is doing anything. And they get up and they're like, wow. The difference is noticeable to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have clients that come in on a regular basis just because they know that they call it getting a tune up. You know, they know it makes a difference and they feel the difference. They can't really put their finger on why they feel the difference, but they love that it's gentle, and people fall asleep quite often on my table. So
Love it. That's
Awesome.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I was asking. Yeah. So, well, amazing. Thank you for
yeah,
having you.
thanks
And
for having me.
I'm
Yeah.
starting out, Trent. I'll let you end the show.
Sounds good, Nick. Yeah, definitely, Tara. It was good to hear and talk about all these types of things. I'm sure we could kind of nerd out for a while about this kind of stuff. It's really cool. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a lot of things in our systems that we just need that junk to get out of it, and it doesn't happen. Then we have these things that just don't go away. So
right.
doing your work is really super powerful, and it's good to hear. So I'm glad you're putting in that work to the world to help people get better and get the things to address issues that are more the cause of the issue versus just causing to not have that have the recurring things happen. So that's wonderful. So I really appreciate you coming on and
Oh,
talking a little bit about what you do. So
yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
of course, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, I haven't left the show at the end, so this is kind of fun. So thanks everybody. For Healthy and Active in the Couve. This is Dr. Trent Corey with Nick, and then also Tara for. And go ahead and name your business again.
My business is Better in Balance.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
And then, how is the best way somebody can maybe contact you?
My phone number is great. It's 360-358-2580. My email is tara@betterinbalance.net.
Okay, great. Yeah, so definitely reach out to Tara. She's definitely very knowledgeable in that skill set and to be able to help people get to that point. So really appreciate you being on the show today. So
Yeah. Thank you.
all right. So for Healthy and Active in the Couve, this is Dr. Trent with Nick. We're signing off. Thanks so much.